So, where we ended last time was we had the battles of Lipan Camp Creek, or I guess the skirmishes at Lipan Camp Creek, and at the other place, which is called Dove Creek. So that was obviously Regis's infantry moving in conjunction with some artillery, and Twiggs' cavalry moving with the Kiowa. And swept away some Confederates who were blocking the Coach Road, covering those two creeks. So the creeks themselves, obviously, it's high summer. It's been dry for like 6 weeks now. So most of the creeks are actually quite dry. So even though you more or less managed to kind of keep steady with access to water and everything, water is actually becoming kind of a big concern for the army for now, because you can kind of basically, as you're going, let me put the map up for you real quick. So, as you can see here, get this going. So obviously, those battles happened around right here, and down here. So, if, for instance, let me, I can even draw on these, look at that. So yeah, you had a battle here, bam, and you had a battle here. The army kind of came through this way, and you're basically camped on just the west side of Boiling Fork. So Boiling Fork is also, just like all the other ones, at a fairly low ebb right now, but it is sort of the best flowing river that you have. So you two, since your regiments did a great deal of some of the combat last session, have been given basically 2 days to rest. So you are in camp, and you have 2 days with which you can do basically whatever you need to get your regiments kind of back up to strength. Luckily, so far, you've taken very few casualties. You've been, for the most part, kind of untouched when it comes to actually, like, none of you guys are really getting hurt that much. But you're tired. You've done a lot of fighting. You've burned through a lot of ammo. And in general, you're just exhausted. So that's kind of the biggest thing that you guys have to worry about. If we'll have you roll some resting or some cohesion rolls with your leadership to see how you're doing. So you're going to get, when you roll this, you're going to get in your skill slot, you're going to get 2 points, because you got 2 days of basically uninterrupted rest. Unless one of you fails really badly, in which case some emergency will have to take up all of your time and energy. So as long as you've kept your own kind of records, and I'm looking at your units, and it looks like you have, getting you back up to full strength is basically the priority here. I know that I know that you used some. You didn't take a lot of damage, but you did use some of your sort of resources to refill your stamina. So I know that's where we are now.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I'm particularly low on stamina.
yeah. But yeah, so go ahead and roll.
Right.
It's cohesion and plus your leadership check, or personal magnetism in the case of Regis.
And we're rolling our current cohesion, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So just because I keep forgetting how to write the syntax, I type it like that. Roll 4.
Just a space between roll and the first number.
Yeah, I broke it up to try not to roll. I want.
Yeah. Yep. And then you're gonna get basically a +2 bonus that's gonna go in that second slot. So you're gonna be doing that. And somehow we both roll a 1.
So if we're getting the +2, that's added right to the leadership.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's treat that as like a skill bump. And mostly it's just because, again, unless that 1 is the real roll, you've got 2 days of uninterrupted rest.
So did I roll that? So to get the extra +2, would it become roll 4 3?
Yes. Yep. So go ahead and just do that right again. Okay. So you're actually, yeah, you guys are doing fine. You have 2 extra points that you can put back in any of your attributes that you have lost, or, um, well, did you lose any attributes? I think you
No,
did,
I didn't
okay.
lose any attributes. I just burned a lot of stamina.
Okay, so your stamina is all back. That first full day of rest is going to give that all back to you. And I'm going to say that because you rolled a 6, you get your stamina points or your morale points back too.
Cool.
Yeah, because you basically have 2 days. You have basically this was a pretty crushing defeat for the Confederacy, and you and your men have played a key role in pretty much all of the battles that you've had so far. So your men are like, at least for that first night when like the whole army gets there and you're camping and everything, like everybody wants to hear from your guys, right? They want to know like what was it like, you know? So like your men are being like feted. They're people are kind of hosting you. They wanna hear your reports. You've got that Loren Hamilton is coming around and asking questions and everything and wants to get quotes from you and your men, and it's a pretty good time. This is also like everybody's flush. Your supplies are still quite high, and you've captured because of the Kiowa, you captured a whole bunch of Confederate horses. And while the Kiowa kept most of them, and they like ran off and then like came back with like 20 horses, we're like, this is what we captured. Everybody kind of knows what's up, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, you've had a couple of very easy days of actual for real rest. Nothing crazy happened. Your men are in high spirits, so they're not really getting into too many fights or anything like that. So it's not bad. And then Regis, you rolled a 4. So basically the same for you. There's nothing super spectacular, but you've had a couple days of rest. Your men are in pretty good spirits. And what was the state of your men?
I think at one point, one of my attributes was burned down.
Yeah, I think you
I'm
burned
trying to
a
remember
point of
how we-
labor.
Yeah, yeah. Burned
Okay.
a point of labor to increase the my stamina.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay. So I'm going to say that you have your stamina's back, all the way up top.
Right.
And I'm going to give you 1 point of morale. But otherwise, everything just kind of rejigger your you like your points go back into your manpower pool. And why is your cohesion so low? What happened there?
I'm trying to. I think that might have just been what we took. Like we had a bad volley. I think that may have been
Okay.
damaged.
Yeah. Okay.
If I recall,
I should have gone back
Right.
through.
right before, when I missed that Confederate major,
Right.
and there was like bad volley.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I would like to work on, if nothing else, is
Okay.
increase my cohesion low.
Okay. So with a 4, yeah, I'll give you 1 more point that you can put in any of your attributes. But your morale is going to stay at 8. So it's still a little bit low, but your cohesion is going to come back up 1 more point. Other than that,
And what about how do we? Now I know I had redistributed manpower like to maneuver.
Yeah.
Which is why my maneuver's up. So will that just reset itself?
Yeah, you can just put put that back in that, because like those are sort of temporary distributions, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the other 2 manpower were in the form of those squads.
Yeah.
That have been sent.
Yep. And so yeah, your detachments kind of come back in, and so your manpower is back up as you like.
After that guy brutally executed that horse in front of that 14-year-old.
Right.
Just making eye contact with him.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. So that's the state of your things, and obviously, like this is long-term stuff. So like you're gonna have a lot of chances for your points and everything to come back. However, so over the course of the next couple of days, you guys get you have soft camp duty. So most of what you guys are doing is when wagons get stuck in the deep ruts and everything, you kind of help push them out. You sort of every now and again, like some of Twiggs's men are sort of dispatched to kind of go out and drag some water barrels back to the main column and everything, and they're just kind of flowing through and whatnot. You work on your reports, send them up to the generals. Your generals come in and chat with you and kind of get the personal takes of what you've done, and you are sort of apprised of the strategic situation as it stands over the next couple of days. Let me give you.
Now September 5th.
Yes, it's September 5th. You've had a couple of obviously days of rest, as we've just gone over, and hopefully this doesn't completely crush everything as I share it. But so here's the situation as it stands now. All right. So you've got obviously you've moved east past Boiling Fork. That's where you guys were camped, and the rest of the division has set up just east of Antelope Creek. So scouts have gone forward, and they've determined that there's actually a pretty strong force of Confederates that are holding the Divide Pass, which is right over here over the Coach Road. So where they're sitting is a natural choke point. This is probably one of the risks of kind of taking this road. So the army essentially has two options, and they're calling for a big a meeting for everybody to get there. But the situation that you've heard is there's a force of at least 4,000 Confederates holding the Divide Pass. They are backed with artillery, and they've dug rifle pits, and they are like ready to make a pretty strong stand here. So the options are: one is to punch through them, which you can probably do. You have artillery, you have plenty of men, you outnumber them significantly, and you can probably punch through them pretty quickly. The other option is to basically leave a holding force here to prevent the Confederates from chasing after you and sending the rest of the army, or a big bulk of the army, around from here, basically all the way up here and then through this river valley that way. So the issue with that is, as soon as the Confederates see you go, they can leave a holding force here, and they can send men up that valley and block it off as well. So it's not really going to deal with the problem, right? So basically what you kind of get to, the two of you as colonels are summoned to a meeting, and in the meeting, you've got General Worcester, and you've got General Stump Grinding. Grinding and Worcester and everything are convening the meeting of all their regimental officers and asking for their opinion.
Well, I, for one, would never balk at the chance to kill more of Johnny Rip.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want to have a... Wait, Cold Harbor hasn't happened yet. I don't want to be the example for that. So, if that were to happen in the future, I don't want to be the Western version of it.
Right.
Was Cold Harbor where they blew up that giant mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. No. Cold Harbor is the... Cold Harbor is... After one of men in French rifle pits, they're just gunned down. But it's the beginning of the Overland campaign. Grant shows he's different by not immediately retreating after a terrible loss. Just says, "What? Fuck. Attack tomorrow." But yeah, we don't directly assault entrenched positions, and could be done if we can convince the Confederate forces that we're only leaving a holding force and sending the bulk of our forces around, having them withdraw, it'd be real easy to punch through their holding force.
Maybe.
But I don't like the idea of also going to the desert and dying of thirst.
Right.
I'd rather die shooting at Johnny Rep.
Right. Twigs.
Do we know how the composition of their forces? Are they mostly militia like we run into, or are these regulars?
It looks like mostly West Texas militia, like it has been before. So these are they're flying colors, but they do have again an entrenched position, and the numbers look in the thousands. It's kind of hard to get an accurate count, of course, because they're basically on the military crest of this big hill. It's probably about a 50 or 60 vertical foot sort of shallow embankment that goes up to the pass, and so they're dug in pretty well, but it's not super narrow, right? Like you can fit a fair few regiments in that zone pretty well. So
The hot gates, this is not.
sorry.
Hot gates, this is not.
Right. Right. So it's at least 400 or 500 yards across at the kind of fortified ends of the divide. They've of course made some sort of artificial embankments, and they obviously have gun entrenchments and whatnot. But it's sort of hard to scout, right? Because again, the divide itself, the kind of high points are plateaus that extend for miles in either direction. So this is, you're going to have to take this pass, whether you do it by looping around or punching straight through it. And the tone in the tent, the command tent, seems to mostly be, well, I guess we're going to go through. Worcester and Grinding both seem pretty convinced that a night assault is probably going to do it. Going in at night with bayonets and just going straight through. And they haven't made a decision yet, but it does look like when they do, it'll be a volunteer thing. They'll have volunteers for the Forlorn Hope. And they'll keep regiments and everything as reserves and as sort of the secondary efforts to secure once they've taken the first trench line, if they can.
Roughly how many men do we have compared to them?
Your army is about 12 to 15,000 men. You got like a pretty full-size division. It's a little harder to tell because a lot of your strength is in native allies, and their numbers fluctuate pretty heavily. But
I'm not against that. I'll come down on the side of attacking because the more we can defeat their forces in the field, the better.
Yeah.
Just because they're not going to reform those.
Right.
And harry us.
Right.
And leaving the main road is going to be a huge endeavor for infantry in the middle of Texas.
Right. And that leaves a strong force in your rear if you decide to turn around and go elsewhere. And this was, as they sort of remind everybody, like this was a risk of choosing to go along one of the coach roads instead of overland or along one of the river valleys. So this is not unexpected. They're prepared for it. They're ready for it. They've got that basically like 3-to-1 numbers sort of maxim that you need for assaulting entrenched positions. And given what you know of the quality of these guys so far, like none of these fights have been as bloody as they could have been. And a lot of that, most of the army seems to pin on the quality of your opposition.
Maybe not artillery superiority, but at least artillery parity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, militia doesn't stand for that,
right.
Even in their trench.
Right. Yeah, you've got.
I propose forming up send in. I like the idea of a night assault, an early dawn, just pre-dawn assault, and hopefully we can move to within a range where I propose setting up like a grand battery and concentrate on like 1 or 2 parts of the line to really send them out of the trenches.
You get some support from the artillery guys who are in the room, like the guy who's kind of in charge of the the detached artillery through the companies is like nodding eagerly, and That's yes, sir. That's what I would have proposed as well. So, sort of a rough accounting of the artillery you have. Mostly, you have 12-pounders and sort of aging 6-pounders, because like these are all from various sort of scattered forts in the west that have been mostly used in sort of Indian fighting. But you do have a couple of 30-pound rifled ordnance pieces that were used on gunboats
Ooh.
that have been detached from ships in San Francisco and sent along with the California column. So you do have, you've got some pretty effective pieces of artillery, especially against what it looks like. So the scout reports that you've seen so far, and from sort of personal officers kind of touring the lines, what it looks like is the Confederates mostly have 6 and 12-pounders. So again, sort of the same thing. It doesn't really look like they have too many like modern pieces or like Parrott guns or kind of anything like that. There are a couple that look like pretty good size, maybe 30-pounders or something like that, but it looks like they have probably a dozen pieces total. Your combined artillery is twice that. But yeah, the artillery guys are very eager to basically show what they can do.
Discuss this. I thought of what I would personally be interested in doing in Texas, in discussing with the artillerymen. I think this is something that could come up.
Mhm.
I'm sure both of you have seen the "Come and Take It" flag
Yes.
that has the cannon on it
Yes.
from Gonzales, which that was a 4-pounder gun that the city of Gonzales had that like the Mexican officials were trying to take from Gonzales,
Mhm.
and they were like, "We can't defend ourselves against Indians. We won't give the Mexican government our cannon back." And cue Texas Revolution.
Yeah.
Anyway, if we, oh, I don't know where I left off, but
We just-
I now would like to have a personal goal of taking the cannon from the city of Gonzales, Texas, that they hold in high esteem, and melting it down into commemorative.
Sure. So, like
Because
you're
I think that's something our team would know as a famous cannon
yeah.
is this Texas Come and Take It cannon.
So there are actually quite a few hand-sewn flags over on the Confederate line that actually literally have Molon Labe written on them. So that has become yeah. That has become obviously a thing that they're doing. But yeah, so it's like evening on September 5th. You've moved up to this camp. You're having this meeting, everything, and so far, I mean, people seem to be in support of this idea of a heavy bombardment and a night attack. The only sort of addition to it is that people actually say rather than a dawn attack, make it an evening attack, like a twilight attack, because the sun's setting behind you, and that's going to get in their eyes. And as you kind of swarm up again, that'll give you guys an advantage as you go in, and you'll be prepared for the night fighting, and hopefully the Confederates won't. And that's basically that seems to be the plan. And there's quite a lot of support for it. So unless anybody else has any kind of other ideas, and it's either of you if you have any ideas or additions or anything like that. Now's the time to bring them up. Okay. Yeah.
I'm for it.
Okay. Alrighty. So they are taking volunteers for a forlorn hope, and what that means is either of you can volunteer if you like, and you can personally go in the first wave if you want to. Otherwise, it just means that because they're forming a sort of an ad hoc battalion from all of the units in the army, each of you is going to basically, some of your men are going to volunteer in the form of 1 point of manpower from each of you to form the hope. So you're essentially sending a detachment of your own volunteers. Twigs, you might actually have to convince some of your better soldiers not to volunteer, because many of them are like, hell yeah, ready to give Johnny Reb the bayonet. You're like, your rifles don't even have bayonets. They're carbines. Settle down.
That's the role we have to make. I just guys with sabers. If it's a role I have to make, I want to tell them, like, look, we're cavalry. This is not our job.
Yeah.
I'll be there if you guys are going in, but I don't think we should be the ones doing this.
Okay. Yeah. Make a
have
roll.
much more jobs to do.
Yeah.
I hope some of your men put like a horse head, like have a hobby horse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, make a generalship roll. Yeah,
I
I'm
was
back.
saying, can I frame it in terms that would let me use my proletariat skill?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is
Okay.
this is two each from each. We have a
Yes.
specialized role. Yeah,
Your job is not to get spiked on, farmers' bayonets. Your job is to get shot by carbines.
right.
So that's going to be what? No, charm, intellect.
Either one.
Hey. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to use intellect. So that's 6 and 2.
Yep. Yep.
Why are you being like this? You don't bite. Don't bite that. I got 4 successes.
Okay. With 4, it's enough. Like that's enough to sort of realize that some of these guys are probably a little bit too eager, right?
Yeah.
And so some of your more level-headed soldiers, again, quiet everybody down. Like you're still basically donating like a point of manpower to the cause, obviously, because
Yeah.
some of your men are volunteering, but it's just like you have to like sit down with like Lieutenant Hesh, who's like one of your most valuable guys. You're like, Hesh, don't.
You're not going.
You are not going.
Whatever the opposite of voluntold is, that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Sorry, you need to dig a latrine. That's a direct order. God,
Pretty sure
darn
that,
it.
I'm sure that Colonel Regis will preemptively turn down non-existent calls to draft him for the Forlorn Hope. No, I know you want me to go, but my place is here.
Yeah, there
No
are
one else you can-
yeah, there are honestly plenty of men who are ready to volunteer for it. So like this whole endeavor is basically built on enthusiasm. Like everyone here in the army is here because they want to be, at least at this point. So there are more than enough men to fill out. Like they have like General Grinding, who's actually kind of taking command of this first bit, has to turn men away because there are too many of them that really want to go get them. So the plan is you like sort of time is of the essence, right? So you want to be able to hopefully get over this by tomorrow night. So you've got another night of rest. Um, there's not really much to do. You're going to have to set out some vedettes. There's obviously more just work to be done in especially collecting water and getting other sort of camp supplies and everything fortified and ready to go, and setting up the Grand Battery Park, which is which is getting set up. After, of course, sort of entrenching it. So you're kind of building stone embankments and gabions and everything to protect the artillery as you get in. So it's you're basically going to be spending a day working to lay in a siege, sort of on this thing, right? So give one more. It's another cohesion and sort of it's a rest roll for the night, and then you're gonna have a labor roll for tomorrow because everybody basically in the army is gonna be impressed to sort of protect the cannons and to get everything ready for the assault. So yeah, give me a cohesion plus your leadership rolls for the night. So you are basically again you're camping. There we go. So you're camping basically right under the pass. You're camping about a mile or two away. So you're kind of just outside of cannon range. Sort of set up just kind of like you can hear like Bonnie Blue Flag being played on the fifes and whatnot. Like you can hear the Confederate like banjo music that's going on as you're sort of preparing for the evening and everything, right? So like you're pretty close. You are at this point like within visual range. You can see right up along the military crest the rifle pits and kind of the gleaming things. You can see their vedettes. You can see the fortifications that they're building. You can see their guns kind of gleaming as the sun goes down. So you're quite close. Oh Lord.
I got a very 3.
Yeah. Okay. You said you got a 3? Oh, right. yeah, so you don't have a very restful night, unfortunately. Not bad enough that anything like bad is going to happen to you, but again, not a very restful night. Yeah. There are other conditions that we'll do later. Like if you're in a really nice camp, you'll get bonuses, and if you're, fresh off a massive victory, like this is like an ultimate general civil war. Like the last two battles were just the short little skirmishes, just the kill your men battles, and then the grand battle is the one coming up, right? I played, what was it, Chickamauga the other day, and it's just like, that is just a kill your men battle. That's just like, just throw,
Blow the entire game.
yeah.
The guy, one of the men, Chickamauga, who was a major general there in charge of the 22nd Michigan Infantry, who gets like caught in kind of the middle of that like Confederate pincher movement.
Yeah.
So he's getting fire from like three sides at once. He is the guy whose daughter marries the guy who built this house. She lived here.
Oh,
So he visited this much.
that's cool.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm one of the heroes at Chickamauga. He was wounded there.
Yeah, that's cool.
One of the few like generals who's wounded.
Yeah.
So
Right. That's really neat. All right. So, dawn. You see the dawn gleaming over.
right?
Well, you just did the rest roll, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
this is
you have
the attack,
correct. This is the morning of the attack.
which
so-
is happening night.
Yes,
Right.
later tonight.
Twilight.
Yep. Well,
Just
hopefully.
making sure.
Yeah, hopefully, because you've got a lot of work. Basically, you want to be able to set up. You want to get the guns set up and sort of entrenched and ready to blast the hell out of the Confederate lines by like 4 p.m. so that you get a good 4 or 5 hours of bombardment before you might have to go up. So this is where the labor rolls come in. So the two of you need to do a labor roll. So you can assign manpower. You can assign manpower to this roll and then pretty much immediately remove the manpower back to your pool if you want to later on. So it's not going to affect you if you have to like charge your men up or anything like that. But this is just to entrench the guns. So again, you're digging some pits and you're moving earth and you're kind of digging embankments. And there's going to be scattered fire coming from the Confederates, and there are going to be some sharpshooters. So if you'd rather, say, volunteer some of your men as sharpshooter detachments to keep them off of you, that's something that you can also offer.
I would like to do, I guess, one of each. I have 2 manpower, so I'd like to put one into labor, because I think I'm going to be real good at that.
Right. Yes, your men are miners, after all.
Considering this is like our speciality.
Right.
And then one into, some of my guys have nice rifles.
Mhm.
And we've been doing some marksmanship, so
Okay.
I don't know where to put that.
We'll do. So, what we can do when you return, what you can do is basically like we'll have you'll just make a sharpshooter roll later as the detachment. So the detachment is just gone, right? So it either functions as just a roll, like you'll have a 5 with a 1 skill. You'll just have like one of your officers leading it, and we'll just kind of roll to see what happens. Or you can personally go with the sharpshooter detachment. So that just means that if you roll really badly and fail, you probably get shot. But otherwise, like it's just a normal just roll, like just like anything else. But first, give me your labor rolls.
All right, so am I, how can I make use of my friend of the miner trait?
It's a good question. I would say that you are probably. Oh, that's your right. Yeah, that's I would say that's going to give you a +1 bonus to this roll. Yeah, you're going to have a you're going to be pretty successful at entrenching guns and stuff because like you're good at this kind of thing. So that'll be your dice pool, and you'll have an extra 1 because of your friend of the miner's invocation. Okay. That was. Yep. You also get to use in a personal skill. So if you're doing personal magnetism, or if you're doing all in because you are also in there swinging a pick, you get to add that skill to the roll as well, if you want to. Okay. I was just saying.
I'd like to add my all in.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll it again. So it'll be a 4-3.
Okay.
Oh no!
Cool. I didn't help them.
All right. Here's
I somehow made it worse.
here's what's going on. It's super fucking rocky. It's extremely rocky. It's also let me check because I did roll earlier for what the weather's like for the next several days. It's hot and it's dry and it's very sunny. And the ground is very dry and it's very rocky. And basically what happens is you definitely don't get anywhere close to entrenching the guns by 4 p.m. tonight. So basically you guys both have had an entire full day of just swinging picks in the hot ass sun. So you guys are exhausted, absolutely exhausted. The whole army is absolutely exhausted. And you're not really very close to getting getting the guns entrenched. So it's going to have to wait for another day before you can go.
Okay.
Wait and see if Kircher shows back up. Oh.
Yep.
And you're back.
I lost you for a second.
All good.
Technology sucks.
Yeah. So you guys are. I'm going to say both of you actually lose a point of labor because you got exhausted and you had to sort of refill it, right? So you met are exhausted. However, because you're exhausted and because you're in a semi-permanent camp, you get a bonus to your rest roll for tonight. So unfortunately, no attack tonight. General Worcester comes out and he stands up on a box with his back to the Confederates to show just how contemptuous he is of them. And he gives a speech basically about, we'll do it tomorrow, boys. They'll still be there. And everything. Come hell or high water, we'll shove them out of the divide, etc. But yeah, you've got another night in camp. Anything you guys want to do sort of in the meantime?
Not in particular. Just let everybody rest.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yep. So go ahead and give another cohesion roll with any of your personal skills that might apply. And actually, Twigs, I want you to roll shivers.
What should I match with shivers?
Focus? Focus, yeah. That's probably the...
5.
Okay.
Wow.
Something's...
My cohesion roll is going to be different. Go ahead, sorry.
Something's... you're as you're sort of working all day, working up a sweat, getting, you're feeling properly proletarian, feeling, yeah, this is what I was born to do, right? Your gaze keeps getting pulled up the hill and everything, and you realize like you've got this sense of kinship, just very briefly, very fleetingly, this sense of kinship with the Confederates, because they've been doing basically the same things, digging and entrenching, and they're putting all their hopes and their fears and their bits of their soul into this little fortified entrenchment that you're just going to storm. And I mean, like, you feel this brotherhood, but then you remember, Cain and Abel were brothers too, and one of them was a fucking dickhead. So like, you got this, but there's something's pulling at your attention. It's directing you to this idea of this scratching in the ground. And as you're kind of going to sleep that night, like it keeps nagging at you. Something about something about it you can't quite get your finger on, and it just sort of
Hmm.
keeps. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna like kind of follow that feeling if I can.
Okay,
See what's going.
you can ask a couple questions
Well, I'm
if
not
you want. Sort of to,
scratching at the ground.
yeah.
I know it's dark now, but
Mhm.
I'll go and I'll stand on like a little rise and look out at
Okay.
the entrenchments.
Okay.
Is there a place where it feels like the ground is different?
Not
Like
in
there's a fissure.
not in your camp. Um,
Mhm.
but as you're sort of like looking up, right? Like, uh, no, the ground doesn't feel very different. Not under your feet.
Well, I don't mean like feel like where I'm walking, but if I'm
Yeah.
looking, is there like a sense of like something here doesn't match the rest of the place?
Hmm. Maybe a little bit. Maybe that's it. You know, maybe it's just like maybe they just have easier soil to work with. Maybe that's the feeling you're getting. You don't know. It's nothing like.
It re- hmm.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Yeah. It's just nothing like. This is just a weird feeling, right?
Yeah,
I'm trying to play up the ambiguity of the shivers as much as possible. As you
it
can
is
see.
weird.
Yeah.
No, it works.
But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind, right? They're up there.
Yeah.
They're up to something. These Confederates.
If there's opportunity, I'm gonna kind of share my feeling with Regis.
Okay.
Like I don't know, just something feels very weird about the ground somewhere somehow. Something about scratching. I can't get it out of my head.
Well, I advocate whenever you need, whenever there's something real weird, go find yourself a clod or a rock or a stump and sit and think and look on it. You can read about this in chapter 3 of my book, Slide Your Lump. You have read it, haven't you?
Yes, I actually have.
Why don't you show you firsthand my technique?
Sure.
Let's go find a clod.
We locate a clod. It's not private clod.
And just have a good sit and think and look.
I'll do that. I go out and I do that until I feel tired.
Give
Until I
me
can't stay awake anymore. Gotta head
roll
back to camp.
roll intellect actually, as you because you're sitting there thinking, right? You've got this sort of moment of meditation.
I think you should get a bonus for my self-help.
I
Sure.
got plenty of bonus. I got 6 successes on 6 dice.
So that's pretty nice. And you're gonna get a +1 just success because of the advice that you've gotten from your fellow colonel, your comrade in
Two.
arms. Yeah. Uh, but okay. So you just sort of start musing, right? Like you and Regis and a couple of the other kind of officers of your regiments end up kind of sitting around. You sort of put yourself in the Confederate shoes. Like, what would you do if you were after guarding this pass? What would you do, especially like you're badly outnumbered? You can't really count on the quality of your troops. You're seeing this sort of inexorable advance. You don't know. Neither side still at this point really knows what Price is up to, right? So there's still kind of like that as you're sort of sitting there thinking, kind of embodying this situation that you're in as a Confederate in this hypothetical. You realize like this isn't going to be some sort of last stand. This isn't going to be some kind of gallant thing. This is a holding action. They're trying to delay you as much as possible, right? But there's also like the idea that this is the best chance they have to do a whole lot of damage to you before you get into the interior of Texas. This is a road that goes right to Austin, right? And this is as many of their frontier militia as they possibly can. And this doesn't just mean that it's a bunch of teenagers with their old smoothbore muskets. This also means like Texas Rangers, right? This means people that have been Indian fighters their entire adult lives. So it's this huge kind of mismatch and everything. And you know, you kind of start thinking like, what would I do? And if there was a way that you could trick or trap or I don't know, lure the Union forces into something that they can't, can't deal with, how would you do it? And I mean, there's dozens of possibilities, right? But there's like the chance that they're playing a slightly deeper game than you think maybe the high command in the division has kind of led you to think, right? Like you can count on at least they're probably going to try to put up a couple of days resistance. They do want to slow you down, and they are in a good position for it, and this is the best chance they have to inflict a lot of casualties on you in your advance. But you know that they're hoping to withdraw, and they want to bloody you up enough that they can withdraw cleanly and get back to Austin and sort out whatever's going on there. Right? So, like, people kind of throw out a bunch of suggestions, right? They could put a mine under their lines. They could have put a mine forward of the lines, and as soon as they send people up, they could blow it up. Maybe they'll do maybe they'll do bayonet raids at night. They'll try to come out and spike your guns. Maybe they've got the divide the plateaus booby trapped somehow to close off the pass as they retreat back. But they're you just have this sort of notion that you have this little glimmer of kinship, that there's somebody over there who's an evil Confederate version of Edwin Twiggs, right? who's got something up his sleeve, and it's something to be careful about. But yeah,
this is gonna gnaw me now because I'm gonna be sitting here. It's like they have something fucking clever.
Yeah, I mean that's the issue with all this stuff, right? You know the military necessity of doing what you need to do, which is get up there and take the pass as quickly as possible. But you also know that doing it as quickly as possible is probably going to mean a lot of casualties. It might mean the deaths of people you care about, but it also absolutely needs to be done regardless of what second or third or fourth intention game the Confederates are playing, right? So this is just that constant anxiety of being a person who has to make decisions that involve the lives of your men. And it fucking sucks.
Cartoon powder trails.
There you go.
From a big old keg.
Well, so you especially, you will definitely be able to recognize like lines of explosive, because like they have the switch boxes. They have like the little charge boxes, like the cartoon electrical charge set off things. They definitely have those in the 1860s. So if you see those at any point, obviously like, probably both of you at this point give orders to any of your men that are going in the Forlorn Hope and any of your men that are going to be kind of up in the second or third waves. Like, you see any lines like that, cut them as soon as you see them. That's just standing orders for both of you, just in case. You don't really know. But you also know that obviously something like a mine is going to leave a big footprint. They can't just like bury a bunch of powder and then cover it up. Like it's a mine. It's going to have an opening. It's going to have a shaft. It's going to be something that you can recognize. So yeah, again, like if it were you with your intelligence roll, obviously you'd either going to leave a skeleton crew to light it off like as a suicide sort of a thing when like you kind of come over the hill, or this is going to be they're going to fight for a day or 2 or 3 days, withdraw and blow it up behind them, like as your men kind of come in.
They're too yellow to leave a crew.
Right.
Hang on a second.
Okay. All right. Well, so it's you've had did you roll your rest rolls? Did we do that? Okay. Yeah, so give your rest rolls for the night. So it's cohesion for your men, and then your leadership or charm abilities to help out. And you also remember you get a 1 in your automatic success in your skill slot. For being fucking utterly exhausted from the day of hard work that you had before. Oh my god. Oh no. You got A 3 actually, because you have an
Oh.
additional skill. You could
Oh,
also
right.
roll like generalship will count on any of these, as you roll them.
Yeah, I included that.
Okay. All right. Okay, a 4 and a 3. Yeah, again, you're fine. You're both doing okay. But you wake up. You're gonna have a 8 is your limit for or your high. You're gonna start the day with 8 stamina rather than full stamina. Both of you. So another labor roll. Let's see if you can. Let's see if we can get these guns entrenched and start slamming the Confederates. 5 is way better. 3 is all right. So, Kircher, you guys are going to take another 2 points of stamina loss, just because again they've been working real hard. And they're, the thing is, like, your guys are kind of being annoying to everybody else. You're like, that's not how you swing a pick. You're just sort of like doing extra work to show how good they are at it. So, but yeah, so you get them a little earlier because you've done like half the work the day before. By like 3 o'clock, you've got some kind of like earth embankments that are made for your cannons. They've got good places. You've got nice little sheds and shelters for the powder that you can run out to them. And at about 4 o'clock, the big guns start firing. So Kircher, Regis, give me a sharpshooter roll with your sharpshooter detachment. They're going to be rolling at a 5, so roll 5 dice, and then your personal marksmanship skill. Because as you're rolling the guns up, you make these little, what do you call them? Bunkers. Things for the guns. Embrasures, I guess. They have some of their skirmishers come down. Some of their sharpshooters are harassing you as you get in. Was that the one you just rolled? A 2?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
So you basically spend a good 40 minutes or so blazing away, and nothing really happens. Like they shoot at you and miss a whole bunch, and you shoot at them and miss a whole bunch. That's really it. So you see like a guy, you see like another officer in that Farby Confederate cavalry hat, and you're trying to get him the whole time, and that slippery rascal just manages to avoid all your bullets. But if one of you would like to roll for the artillery battery. So your artillery battery is going to roll at 6 dice with 2 skill because you have an enormous number of cannons. And yeah.
you're not rolling very lucky today.
Let's see what happens.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh, this is really bad. Okay, so one of the guns bursts like right away. It's one of the old 6-pounders. It's one of the first ones. They're kind of firing. These guns are cold. They're not expecting it to do anything. It is probably one of the ones that you actually captured from some of your earlier skirmishes. And there's just an officer. They get everything set up and they wedge the gun in and everything like that, and they yank the lanyard from the friction primer, and the gun just bursts. Sorry, I was explaining that the one of the guns blew up, like right away.
Yes.
So it delays the start of the grand bombardment like another hour because they have to like clear a guy away because you've got three or four men on their gun crew that are hideously burned, and you lost a 6-pounder. So they wheel that back out. You get another delay and another hour and start again. So this time, Regis, go ahead and roll 6 and 2. Okay, that's better. So yeah, you spend like a good hour or so kind of hammering at the Confederate positions, and it's a big light show. It's fireworks, right? It's real fun to watch. But both of you are sort of watching this, and like it's hard to see kind of what effect it's having. The Confederate guns seem to have been kind of pulled back over the crest of the hill, so you're not really doing much damage to them. And the men you're shooting at are in entrenchments. They're in rifle pits, so it's hard to hit them. But I mean, it looks like it's at least having a morale effect, for sure, on them. So let's do one more. This is like another hour. The sun's starting to go down, and the Hope is forming up behind the Grand Battery. So let's get back to Twigs. Make your roll. Okay, that's much better. So the guns are warmed up now, right? They're hopping as they recoil. Everything's going smoothly. You know, they're really hammering this certain part. So the plan has called for, and let me actually, I'll put up the battle map. So that out of the way. So the plan essentially, you've got, say, kind of these three sort of roughly small volunteer regiment sized men. These are the Forlorn Hope. And then each of your regiments are going to be kind of put off to the side as reserves. And they've got a couple of other regiments also in reserve. So the idea is that the Hope is going to go up. Hopefully they are able to kind of carry this through. Confederate positions look roughly about here, right? The military crest is kind of sort of lower than the actual crest. Your guns, your battery part, this is roughly half a mile or so away, right? The whole guns, and they are hammering the shit out of the guys on the Confederate left. So these guys are getting really badly battered. It looks like it's even sort of knocking away a bunch of the sort of Confederate earthworks. Have kind of collapsed and have kind of come down in pieces around them. So that the Confederate left looks like the place they're going to kind of shift their men to really charge up and get over across there. So like the time is kind of coming now. So mechanically, what that's done is their bonus from their entrenchment is going to be knocked down a peg, basically. So you had opportunities to actually really crush them and kind of move them back from the rifle pits. Unfortunately, you didn't. But at least that one side of the line is pretty affected. So, do you guys want to roll for the Hope as the Hope, or would you rather I do it?
Well,
I don't
I'm
want-
not having a ton of luck. So.
Okay. I will give it my best attempt. All right. So the Hope is basically functions as an enormous detachment. It's taken basically kind of 1 point from each of the regiments. So they're rolling at a 6, and they've got good volunteer officers. So they're rolling at a scale of 2. Yeah, they're going to put in 3 of their stamina. So in case it's necessary for you guys to going up, if you're looking at the battle map again, going up sort of this area here, this is sort of representing a fairly steep incline. It starts like down here, of 60 vertical feet. So this is basically like trying to run up the ramp at the fort, Kircher. It's pretty tough going, right? So they're going to actually expend 3 points of stamina even to get up the hill already. So hopefully they can do that and sort of overwhelm the thing. So what they're essentially going to roll. That roll is going to be their charge, and any damage the Confederates do is going to damage the charge before it kills or wounds any of the men. Does that make sense? Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Yeah, so basically what they're going to do is they're going to roll at 6 with a skill of 2, and they're going to add in an extra bunch of their stamina. And that is going to be rolled against the Confederate defenses. The Confederate defenses are pretty good, but they've been knocked out away a little bit from the artillery bombardment. So let's see. So I'm rolling for the Forlorn Hope first. They rolled a 6, which is pretty good. So this is the force of their charge, right? So this isn't actually like any sort of, if they take damage to this, it'll sort of blunt or stop the charge rather than actually damage or wound any of the men. And what did I put down as the Confederates? And Confederates roll the same. Whoops. Oh no! They rolled exactly the same. So here's what happens. All right. So the guns quiet down. The men sort of assemble, and they start roaring up the hill. And they go. Oh, I should draw it. That's why I've got these things, right? And they get to about where you want to be, right? And their charge falters right there. They take six hits to the charge. No. Well, I mean they tie the charge, so the charge is actually blunted, and they withdraw in battle, having lost a whole bunch of their men, or at least a lot of their enthusiasm, and have not managed actually to do much damage at all. So basically, they go up. A lot of the men get shot. The volleys of the Confederates are actually so, kind of withering and everything that they retreat in bad order. So they kind of come back and form up. Obviously, most people kind of knew that this was not going to be a one-time thing, and they're going to get ready to try it again, hopefully. So they're actually going to have their volunteer officer is going to try to rally them. So they are actually quite tired now. Oh, it's not looking good. This might be a wasted night. Unless either of you want to try to do anything to help them, to try to get them back up. They've taken some casualties. Their officers are not doing a terribly good job of rallying them, and they sort of are tired. So they'll actually be rolling at slightly less efficiency than otherwise. So some of them are advocating, maybe try again tomorrow. Maybe just let the night go this time with another artillery bombardment. Try again in the morning. What do you guys think?
I would come down to the side of calling a mulligan, let everyone rest, and go in tomorrow.
Okay.
Because if anything else, they're emboldened. The defenders are emboldened.
Yeah.
And hopefully, guys who aren't professionals will get bored or antsy if we leave them in the trenches.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Regis?
Well, I'm of mixed feelings on this because obviously, they're attempting to buy time here.
Yeah.
The more time we're in enemy territory, the more time they buy, the more chance they get somebody else to come help them and fill up the back of the pass.
Right.
So I suppose one more night's not going to kill anybody. I hope.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If either of you would step in to lead the hope, they would definitely go in again. Enough of the men are ready to do it, and they know the necessity of doing it. It's just like some of their officers are wounded. It's kind of a bad situation. So again, it's up to you guys. Sort of, Worcester wants to go. He wants them to go again, but he's not gonna order them to.
Because we should be going again. I couldn't tell if you heard what I was saying.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I can
Yes.
now. Yes. Yep.
Okay. If there's a clamoring, if there's a clamoring, not a clamoring, but if there's guys sitting around talking we can go again, we can get them. Then I'll take charge. Say, all right, well, let's go get them.
Okay. They're ready to go. They really want to.
All right, form up.
Okay. So they Regis, give another artillery bombardment to cover as the hope withdraws. They're gonna wait another time. So the sun's gone down now. So you don't have the advantage of the sort of the twilight kind of in the Confederate eyes anymore. But it is quite dark, and that also helps.
Okay, so pour it on them, boys.
Oh, hell yeah. So another 7. That's going to do another point of damage against their sort of ability to do it. And this is sort of concentrating, kind of like walking across, from the leftmost part of their line, walking it sort of across. So these guys are going to be kind of, they've actually taken quite a lot of hits. And these guys have taken a hit as well. So they're actually going to be quite badly blunted when they try on that side. So as you go in with the hope again, Keith, you're going to be rolling at a 5 dice, and your skill is going to count as well. And the Confederates are actually going to have a smaller roll this time as well because you've done a bunch of damage. Go ahead.
I forgot some of the risking mechanics. Where do I spend a point of power?
Okay. Spending a point of power gets +2 successes automatically. Risking morale.
I want to spend a point of power.
Okay. So that'll just.
And we'll go big. I'll risk a point of morale too, right?
Okay. So 1 point of morale is just an extra die on the roll. So if you risk a bunch of morale, that's where it's really gonna matter.
All right. I'll risk 4. I'm going to show you my syntax for what I think.
Okay. Yeah. So 4.
Wait, roll. Yeah.
No. So okay, you wanted to risk 4 morale.
Yeah.
You're doing okay. So it's 5. You're gonna get. What is the skill that you're gonna be using when you're leading the hope here? Leader of men. So that's a 1. But you're also adding a point of power, so that is going to be a 3 in the second slot. Then it's space and +4. So it's going to look like that, except with the exclamation point.
So roll 3 +4. All right, this is the official one. Here it goes.
Yep. Okay, that's pretty fucking good. So yeah, let's see how the old
sunglasses on.
Yeah. Let's see how the Revs do this time. So they're pretty battered.
It's got sunglasses at night.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how cool I am.
They're pretty battered. Their men are. Their officer is also trying to rally them because they know if they can break you here, that's it for the night, right? They're not going to have to do much more. So they're trying again. So they got a 6. You beat them by 3. So with an advantage of a 3, you're actually doing pretty good. So yeah. First charge. I'm just going to put a note here. Failure. Second charge under twigs. 9 against their 6. So yeah, your second charge goes straight up and punches basically right through these guys here. So you have basically your men in a big kind of clod up here on the left. And they have broken up into various detachments on the line as they're sort of withdrawing here. So
we're going to send up the flare that signals we broke in.
Yep. And then obviously the second wave is going to prepare to move back or to roll right up. So hopefully it's going to do what it is. So what you need to do now is okay, so you have also spent, you didn't lose the morale because you wanted the roll, but your men are tired because you, again, basically spent 4 total points of stamina going up the hill. So your guys are a little tired. So they're not at a point yet where they're going to be suffering any kind of detriment or anything like that, but they are a little tired. So you can either try to just carry the charge straight through, or you can try to sort of consolidate, stay in the trenches, spike any guns that are nearby or anything like that, and hopefully wait for the second wave to get up here as fast as they can.
Before I make a decision, I'm going to kind of like stand on the parapet and listen to the wind and try to roll a shivers.
Roll shivers, yeah.
How things feel. All right, 5.
Okay. with a 5, you know something's like something. It's like you feel good, right? As you're sort of like thinking like, oh, what was the wind telling me the other night? You know, what was the ground trying to speak to me? You know that sort of breaking through it feels like you've landed like a really solid punch, right? Where you expected a bit more resistance and it went right through. Where it's something's whatever it was that they were trying to prepare isn't quite ready yet. So you're probably not going to get blown up. There's probably going to be something to kind of look out for and everything, but you are up here. You are up on the top of this hill. You are sort of surveying everything, and the most immediate danger is obviously those guys right there who are massing for a counterattack. Right, so it's sort of whether or not, again, you want to kind of carry this through. It's up to you. You think that you've caught them immaturely prepared for whatever nasty surprise they had in store.
But we hold their works, right?
You hold the left side of their works, so they still have men on their right. Yeah, but you've got basically like you have one of their kind of big one of their battery parks, and you've got a bunch of guns that you can go and spike if you want to. But you do have a big portion of their line, and you have basically flanking fire into their rifle pits. So they've actually moved back and are reforming. They're probably going to counterattack. If they can push you out of the works before your reserves get here, that's what they're going to try to do.
All right. In that case, we'll set a detachment to spiking the guns.
Okay.
And everyone else repelling the counterattack.
Okay.
How much manpower came with us?
But yeah. So you've got you rolled at a 5 last time for the pool of manpower, so it's going to be rolling at a 4 this time. But all the same, so your personal skills and any extra morale or anything that you want to wager also applies.
All right, so we're going to wager, because we're going to be really stubborn about this, and if we fail, we're going to break, is what I'm trying to wager.
Okay.
A total route situation. So we'll wager 5 morale.
Okay.
4. I got 1 for my skill, and then it's +5.
Yes.
Okay.
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 All right. So they have reformed. They have an officer that is reforming them. They're rolling at a 4 with a personal skill of 2 because of the leader, and they're putting in all of their morale as well. And they have a much less of it because they threw in morale last time and they lost it because you guys broke through. So this is it. This is, again, if they do better than you, they'll retake the trenches and they'll win. If they lose this, a big portion of them are going to break and run. Oh no!
Oof. Okay.
Oh my lord. Ah! Oh no! All right. Yeah, they counterattack. It's nasty. Like they seem to be basically ready for it. Like they come in, bayonets fixed, and they come in and they beat the hell out of your sort of scattered detachment.
Well, we go.
Yep.
So would the morale I risk come out of my morale?
It's gonna. We'll do a leadership check or like a composure check for you personally. This comes out of the unit's morale. So this is the ad hoc Forlorn Hope morale is where it's coming out of mostly. Okay. Yeah, so the hope is beaten feet, back down the hill as fast as they can go. And this is a critical leadership role for General Wister. This is He's going to see if he wants to go forward with the reserves or not. And this is going to be a really tricky decision for him. Luckily, he's competent. All right. He does not have faith in this attack tonight. He's gonna bugles are calling for everybody to come back as soon as the hope. Your men sort of clear the battery park. They're gonna start opening fire again with the artillery to keep the Confederates back. But for tonight, they're gonna call it, and it's gonna be a loss. You've been pretty badly blunted at this point, and you've taken some. I mean, these are the most severe casualties that your army has taken so far. So they're gonna kind of withdraw everybody and lick their wounds.
All right.
Yeah.
Draggle back into camp.
Yeah. And actually, I gotta figure out a good way to. Well, I don't think you rolled badly enough that you would have gotten wounded. But anyway,
If I had risked like more, probably there might be like, especially since it's this as a playtesting note, since it's the Civil War and it's the American drama of like all these officers like leading from the front and getting blasted
Yeah.
away.
Mhm.
You could try to add a mechanic. It's not just power or morale risk, like some kind of risk for like I
Yeah.
put myself on the line. I'm out there in the front.
Yeah.
There was a mechanic. So this is going off on the tangent of just game mechanics for a second.
Yeah.
In that remember that sharp practice game we played?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
There's an 1812 supplement, and the guy who wrote the 1812 supplement has a thing where certain American units have that, like he adds that kind of like flair of like a guy runs out and does some dramatic American volunteer bullshit because the Americans have to that. And if you fail whatever you're doing, you have because you can't like represent that guy getting killed or whatever.
Right.
There's an abstracted like worse morale check.
Yeah.
So you could do something where like you get character on the line. But now, like, if it fails, or even if it succeeds, you can succeed with the consequence of something bad happens to you.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
So, it's like, I might have taken a wound anyway because, like, I'm there.
Let me do. Let's do it by having you roll your morale check because, or this is your composure check, right? So this is how well you personally are keeping together after your unit breaks. Because
So
again, like
that would be right.
this is your personal skill. So what you're doing is rolling twigs. So it's focus and composure. Yeah. So you're actually keeping things together pretty okay.
Hello, baby.
Yeah. So
a lot of blood on your hands.
Yeah. Well, like you're withdrawing and like you're making sure that wounded men are being brought back. You're making sure that your men are actually withdrawing in good order. You're making sure that you've got like detachments that are kind of firing volleys to keep Confederate heads down in their trenches. Like you're giving up the works, but you're actually withdrawing the men in good order. So you managed to keep your head really well. And as you bring everything back and salute Worcester, who's like standing up on like one of the half-raised gabions in the artillery park. He just shakes his head. He's trying to keep it together on his own, and he's sort of eyeing you with respect, at least. But you can tell, obviously, he's pretty upset about the turn of events that has happened here.
We'll see tomorrow, sir.
Yeah. So this was the Battle of Divide Pass, day 1. We'll probably have I'll do a sort of a clean one for the next time. But I think that I gotta end about now. It's 7 dinner time. For me.
I think that's time for me.
And we will hopefully get back to this soon, as soon as we can. This is a good dramatic moment to kind of keep it up. I sometimes worry. I think it's a combination of like the fact that I want players to succeed as much as they do, and also like I roll really badly that sometimes I feel like battles and stuff are too easy. So I'm kind of glad there's this setback. This is actually kind of really dramatic, right? So this is like the first big sort of charge right up, and it's good. I think it's an interesting situation to be in. But yeah, so I've got some. I know what the weather is going to be like for the next couple of days because I rolled that ahead of time. But yeah, so later I'll just put this into Discord for if you I'll put it up later on. But we want to roll both of you sort of roll kind of leadership and like cohesion roles among your own men in terms of how you respond to basically having a pretty nasty defeat for the first time and incurring some pretty heavy casualties on your side, and how you kind of manifest that in talking to your men and getting them organized and ready to go for the next time. And so we'll start next time with basically like a dawn meeting to see what the hell they're going to do, whether they're just going to try it again or what. So yeah, but otherwise,
I like it.
yeah. All right. Anything else before we go?
Solid.
Let's go.